Look at this skyline. This is the center of Lucknow, a dense, developed, and highly sought-after urban district. This is a location where citizens expect the rules to be most strictly enforced. The site of the fire was 8 kilometers from the chief minister's residence, and only 7 kilometers from the state assembly, where the laws of Uttar Pradesh are drafted. On a completely ordinary afternoon, 15 young people between the ages of 18 and 24 walked into a multi-story building here to attend an animation and gaming class. Hours later, some of those students were suffocating in locked bathrooms, while others were throwing themselves out of high windows to escape the flames. This occurred in broad daylight, in the middle of a premium neighborhood. While the official record may label this an accident, the evidence points to a structure that had been operating in a state of constant violation for 12 years. To understand how 15 people could be trapped in such a high-profile location, we have to look at the specific physical and administrative failures that turned this building into a death trap. The charred shell of this building, standing right next to the elevated railway, reveals the scale of the devastation. The reasons for the fire's speed are found in the gap between the building's legal status and its actual use. On paper, the city recognized this strictly as a private residential home. In reality, it was a packed commercial complex, housing a clinic, a paint storage go-down on the ground floor, and a crowded coaching center up top. The city approved this structure to handle a 20-kilowatt electrical load, but the building was drawing 35 kilowatts, nearly double its legal capacity, turning the internal wiring into a constant ignition risk. Despite operating as a commercial hub for a decade, the owners never secured a fire safety clearance or an electrical safety certificate. This lack of oversight was reflected in the building's physical layout. There were no emergency sprinklers and no secondary fire exit. For 3 stories of students and hazardous paint materials, there was only one narrow staircase. When the fire began, the physics of that layout took over. The narrow staircase acted like a chimney, rapidly filling with toxic smoke and turning the only exit into an impassable wall. Every structural choice, from the overloaded electrical grid to the missing exits, treated human safety as an unnecessary expense. The building was perfectly engineered for a massacre. While authorities often treat these events as isolated local failures, this exact blueprint of structural negligence is active in cities across the country. We saw identical failures lead to the collapse of a gaming zone in Rajkot. We saw it again in Delhi, where the Arpit Palace Hotel fire proved that commercial interests frequently override basic zoning and safety laws. The scale of the issue is documented in the government's own data. In the first half of 2024 alone, there were nearly 6,000 fire incidents across India, resulting in 588 deaths. In Uttar Pradesh, 175 of those fatalities were caused by short circuits, the direct result of the neglected, overloaded wiring seen in many urban streets. The government possesses the data, the causes, and the locations of these risks. The remaining challenge is the intentionality to act before the next fire starts. The aftermath of these tragedies follows a predictable pattern. A committee is formed, a few low-level officers are suspended, and financial compensation is announced. Within weeks, the public conversation usually moves on. The families, however, are left in a permanent state of loss, waiting outside trauma centers and carrying the ashes of their children's dreams. We must demand immediate, systemic changes to dismantle the conditions that allow these buildings to operate. First, every commercial hub should be required to display a large, visible safety label outside. This board must detail the building's current fire NOC status, so parents can assess the risks before their children enter. Second, we need immediate zoning audits to shut down commercial businesses hiding in residential spaces. Third, the state must replace endless committees with public, time-bound investigation reports. Finally, there must be a statewide, proactive audit of the electrical grid. Short circuits are the leading cause of fire deaths, and upgrading these systems is a public safety emergency. The names of the cities and the victims will change, but the blueprint of the disaster remains the same. If we do not demand accountability now, the next tragedy is already scheduled.